What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did have some pretty good momentum last week, went up 13.48%. Friday was a little bit more of a consolidation day. Of course, a couple of different external factors that was really affecting it, one being the technicals, but the 50-day moving average, I think it's going to be coming fairly soon. So that does pretty much mean a breakout for NIO. So I'll go over that near the end of the video. But as far as data points, big one to watch for is going to be on Tuesday evening, and that's manufacturing. So essentially anything above 50 shows more of an expansion in the broader market. And this has been really improving over the last little bit. So again, that one will be a big one that could really move a lot of Chinese stocks. And then aside from that, it is simply going to be tariffs. I'm kind of getting tired of just kind of talking about tariffs almost every single day, but unfortunately, that's kind of the moral of the story. That's what is really driving the market, and potentially China extending that olive branch, I think it was Thursday evening, is potentially going to be the start of maybe full-on negotiations between the two countries. So once again, that could really drive NIO and just the broader market higher as a byproduct of that. A lot of companies unveiling their earnings this week, so that could really move the market. Nothing really directly correlated with NIO, in my opinion, so I think it might just piggyback off of this. Of course, algorithmic trading will be reacting to this accordingly, really moving NIO higher and lower. But going into this upcoming week, on a side note though, 13.02% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 207.05 million shares. Why that's different, you might be asking, from, for instance, on Friday after hours, that is where the New York Stock Exchange did report the true amount of shares. So as of April 15th, so yes, it's delayed, but as of April 15th, there was 220.08 million shares overall being shorted. So what a lot of platforms such as Ortex, Fintel do is they take that information, calculate up to the present day, and that's why we get that 13.03, I think it was. So ultimately, between March the 31st and April the 15th, shorts did return about 13 million shares more than what we previously thought, most of which is done through the dark pool. So that's why on a daily basis, I always go over where volume is coming from, algorithmic trading, obviously dark pool, secondary market, and so forth. So at the end of the day, going into this week, short's been really returning more than what we thought. So that's kind of a good thing. Maybe they do see a lot more upside. So it looks like it did kind of peak around that 16% range. So we'll have to wait and see what does play out. Maybe they're worried about potentially just a deal between the two countries coming to fruition, or maybe just NIO's kind of upcoming earnings and something else. I don't know. Let me know your viewpoint on that. The only thing that has really come out was this right here. So it looks like there's some pretty good momentum for Firefly coming out of Belgium, and also or I guess it was Netherlands and Norway. So I believe it mentioned Belgium down here. Looks like later this year. Okay, my apologies. So yeah, it looks like right now it's just being launched in Netherlands and Norway. But then again, Norway, if you're going to launch anything for EV related, it's going to be in Norway, because I believe that their just full-on vehicle sales is roughly like 90 to 92%. So that's a good place to have it. One thing that this article does mention is the AI voice assistant. So I think this is linked to SoundHound. So there is going to be a lot more kind of wording and kind of partnerships with SoundHound in the foreseeable future. They're really expanding at a fast rate in the automotive sector, but they just announced this on the 22nd. So joining forces with Tencent. So we already do know Tencent and NIO and a couple others such as Toyota already have pre-existing partnerships. So SoundHound is going to be pretty good. So that'll kind of increase the customer satisfaction, and you never know, it could open up other additional doors down the line. But it looks as though that the demand for the Firefly for at least like test drives and everything is at full capacity as what they mentioned. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Let me know kind of your viewpoint on that. When it comes down to where NIO closed, so NIO did close at 403 on Friday. So that does mean that the $4 strike price and below is all in the money. So we did have 3,000 at the $3 strike price, 21,000 at the 350, and then 22,000 at the 4. So ultimately that does mean that around 4.3-ish million shares do need to be covered by market makers. They don't have NIO and a lot of volatile stocks in their inventory, so they do have to go to the open market to cover that. So again, that will mean come Monday, you'll see a nice bump up as market makers will be covering that most likely, because even looking on the secondary market and also dark pool, there wasn't all that much in crazy activity. So again, that does mean that market makers will be coming on Monday and buying those shares. So that could give NIO a nice kickstart to the week. Couple key points to watch for though, with it at 403, trading between this pivot and this S1. So 429 is going to be that next strong target / resistance, and then 356. I don't see that being touched this week, so I feel like the upside versus down is definitely in favor of higher. So again, first element to watch for based on the fib levels is 429. In between those 2 points though, you do have that 50-day moving average, and that in NIO's case is a very big deal. So as of right now, $4.18 is that 50-day moving average. So again, another element to kind of watch for. If it is able to get above it, then yeah, you could see a nice run. I think if history does repeat itself, that results in like a 30 to 40% run. And this is why at the same time, shorts do really get active during that kind of breakout period, just to try to suppress any momentum and kill it, because over the last little bit you see it does bounce off of that and so forth. But on a positive note though, it did break past that super trend, so it does have algorithmic trading really working on its side and its favor. So going into this week, you could see NIO really move up fairly fast, and then you do have also that 100-day moving average at 429. So kind of tight resistance levels right here, but if it is able to really kickstart and get a good kind of leg forward early on in the week, then yeah, you could see a very nice push higher. $4.61 is going to be that 200-day moving average, and the stochastic RSI, it is rather overbought, but I'm pretty sure every single stock right now is considered overbought, only because it's like every stock had a pretty kick-ass week. So nothing really wrong with stocks staying overbought for extended periods. So it is what it is, but that does mean the first sign of weakness, whether it be broader market or specific to NIO, you could see a pullback. So such as some things that could cause that, maybe some escalation between China and the States, or maybe if NIO puts out some negative news, horrific kind of weekly registration numbers and so forth. So that could cause some volatility, but at least going into this week, it did close above the ALMA. So I think it is most likely going to really test this early on, whether it be Monday or Tuesday, and then hopefully from there break forward. So let me know your general thoughts on NIO in the comments below. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What's your kind of general thoughts on that? And give your price prediction as well. Where do you see it landing? I do feel that it'll be between this R1 and the pivot. So between 502 and 429, most likely that's where it'll probably land. Probably on closer to this R1 level, but of course we already do know that NIO is very heavily manipulated. Like, even though shorts did return quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, still in comparison to a lot of other Chinese EVs, it's like night and day. So it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, once it does hit profitability, then obviously it'll align a little bit more what the stock price is with operations. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.